Hey everybody, just waiting to get the full team on stage. Thanks for joining. Good to see you. Happy Friday.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday.
Good morning.
How's everyone?
It's good times. Pretty excited. Nice to have this impromptu chat. We've been doing Mondays pretty regularly now. Well, we've been doing regular sessions, and we know we want to do these on Mondays. This is kind of a special edition. uh, but it's always good to chat about the Apecoin community. So wanted to make it happen. I know we're waiting on a few more folks to join on the speaker stage. Definitely want to encourage questions and conversation from others who are jumping in. So we'll get to that. We're going to talk about a variety of topics.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on right now.
Yeah, it's been pretty
Good week.
active. A lot of people chiming in. The Yuga guys are making their rounds, doing lots of interviews and sharing more information and talking about being more communicative with the community. So seems like that's a good theme for us to chat about as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since we're still kind of getting into getting started here, perhaps we can start with some of the logistics and just some housekeeping. So, yeah, as mentioned earlier, we try to do these on a weekly basis. Hi, everybody. I'm board.eth. Big fan of the Yuga ecosystem, part of it from the beginning. And myself and many other folks here who are on stage, wanted to raise our hands and help with Apecoin community and particularly around communication. So we're trying to have these Twitter spaces on a recurring basis. The primary point of them has been to highlight AIP proposals. Basically give an opportunity for people to add context to their proposals that are being voted on or will be voted on or may be voted on. To learn a little bit about who is behind them, why they are qualified to, basically undertake their proposal and execute well. Just do a little bit more than words on a screen can accomplish. So it's been great. We've done like 4 or 5 sessions, and people have brought really great questions and gone deep into their proposals. So that's been helpful. Today it's going to be more of a grab bag of conversation topics, and certainly encourage people to share their perspectives. Do you want to talk a little bit just about the AIP process and also about the ApeCom's Twitter, which recently was started? So Sword, I'm going to throw it over to you if you want to chat a little bit about all of the good stuff going on there.
Yeah, so with the process, it's been months and months of actually learning how to go through these. When it all started, there was a basic process outline, but I don't think people knew exactly what to expect when they were going through it. And that's where me and Red Vulcan and Adventurous Ape and the Hodler, and I don't know, there's 8 to 12 of us really, who we started talking to the proposers and helping them, because sometimes their stuff would get sent back. Okay, so you go through phase 1 where the community gives feedback, but then you have to go through the administrators, and they're not allowed to say yes or no to a proposal usually, but you got to have your details straight. And like if you're a business, you've got to disclose your investors. There's quite a bit to it on the during the phase 2 before it ever gets to snapshot voting. So we just started talking to people and saying, hey, your proposal is getting kicked back because of this, because of this, because of this. Why don't you try doing this instead? And that's kind of how we learned so much about these proposals. Like I said, there's 8 to 12 of us who really have dug in and have done this so far.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it's been quite helpful. Just to experience it myself working on a proposal, which it's often weeks of back and forth and answering questions, and it is a little intimidating. So, I've seen sort of on the back end all the work that goes into getting a proposal live, and you guys have been really helpful with that. And I think part of the process there is not only helping people through the proposal process, but also just elevating the actual proposals, the people behind them, and making sure that more people get involved. Because once a proposal does go live, you want as much of the community to vote and comment and participate as possible. So that's a big reason we started doing these spaces. So yeah, thanks Sword for that introduction. Amplify, you want to do a quick intro as well and talk about the Friday community hours?
Yeah, for anyone just joining, I'm sure some of you, well, I know a lot of you have caught all of our previous spaces where we do an AIP roundup, where we invite the authors of AIPs that are currently live to discuss and receive feedback from the community. On Fridays today, we're doing, and we're going to be doing this every week, we're doing more of a community hour style conversation. Of course, anyone's welcome to request to come up and speak and give their thoughts and feedback, any kind of just general conversation around Apecoin DAO. I do want to continue, though, with the generic disclaimer that I put out in the AIP Roundup Twitter Spaces, that we are not here to advocate for any AIPs or any side of any kind of argument or conversation or debate. We're just here to provide an avenue for people to better share information within the DAO.
I'm allowed to talk shit about them, though. Sorry, I'm not supposed to curse.
Yeah.
Sorry, AA.
No, it's all good. Yeah, just I'm really thankful everyone's here. If we want to get into like some of the topics at hand, I wanted to quickly shout out Helena. She's on the Ape Comms team, and she's going to be in San Francisco for November 2nd to 4th for the ETH SF hackathon. She did all of our promotional material, the tablecloth, the banner, the swag bag items. Everyone's gonna get a little coin, a little ape coin. I think it's really, really cool.
It's a poker chip, right? Can you tell us
Oh,
more
right.
about that?
Yeah, so in the swag bag they're gonna give out, I believe, 1250 of them. So we ordered 1500 of them, and hopefully they'll arrive at the venue in time for us to give a lot out to everyone. And don't worry, guys, I'll save some for you too. Do we know how many people are gonna be at the ETH SF event from today's spaces? Would love to, like, you see my profile pic, so if you see me, just come up and say hi. Would love to meet any of you.
I mean, I can't make it, but I definitely want one of those chips, so I might have
Yes.
to procure one
Oh,
somehow.
Don't worry, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some extras.
There definitely is. And I'm on a mission that Sword gave me. I'm gonna be taking all these candid photos of all these different people for his newsletter. So,
Bored Ape Gazette wants them too.
yes, there we go.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the submissions for the hackathon. For people listening, there's $10,000 up for grabs if you want to build something on top of Apecoin or incorporating Apecoin. The prompt was focused on security and governance. Something we really wanted to see was more safety around NFT users and interacting with them, but then also like governance dashboards that make it easier to know, for example, nominations, which we just got the AIP live today or yesterday for the nominations and elections process. We could have a dashboard that shows that in a more pretty format versus what's currently being proposed is just the discourse forum.
And where can everybody learn more about the hackathon for the and the Apecoin prize that is going to be given out?
Oh, that's a really good point. I forgot to pin all of the tweets I was supposed to pin.
That was my my subtle prompt to do that. But that's awesome. Yeah, hopefully a lot of people can make it out to San Francisco for that, and definitely very curious to see what interesting ideas get built with within the Apecoin ecosystem. So with that, there's some interesting AIPs that are floating around right now. One of the biggest ones is nominations and elections process for the special counsel. What do you guys think? Thoughts, feels?
I printed out and actually highlighted the election and the candidate nominations, right? And it all seems fairly reasonable. it wouldn't stop somebody from being able to do it, but it also elevates people who have more of an executive background. So I know, Board, you had initially talked about looking at it. This is something that kind of puts everybody on a fair ground.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of how they framed. They're trying to make it like as simple, as clear cut as possible, and that they kind of alluded to the fact that we could add on to this later.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that really focusing on skill set experience is a lot more important than it being a popularity contest. And that doesn't necessarily favor people who have like a big following or whatever, but I think that it really can't be that. I think as we've seen over the last 6 months or so, it requires a lot of thought. It requires you to pull in many different experiences and skills to the table. So I definitely appreciate sort of the methodology of like, let's give everybody a chance to be nominated. At the same time, you can imagine there being a scenario where there's 10,000 people who raise their hand and say they want to do it. So you also need sort of a filtering mechanism, right? So one part is the nomination, the other part is how do we go through and actually make these choices and filter down so that there's like a reasonable number of candidates to consider.
Yep, I totally agree, and this definitely doesn't favor the influencer. It's going to favor more so on experience and stuff. Though I think you'll still see a mix. So it doesn't stop your favorite BAYC person from coming in and raising their hand and saying they want to do it, even if they don't have all the executive experience that say somebody else has. I think that it's a happy middle of the road. And we can amend this really easy. That's one thing I wanted to make sure of with it. Like we can look at how it goes.
Sword, board, GM, this is super. If I could just throw in two things, if you don't mind. One is I think there is this balance, right, between opening up the entire, let's say, entire community, NFT community. And to your point, will it end up being a popularity contest? In some ways, it still will be. I'm not sure if we have mechanisms in place that will stop folks that have a big following from putting their self up as a nominee and actually getting through the process. Because is there a KYC to this process?
Yes, there is a KYC for the nominees before they ever get to candidacy.
Thank you for sharing that, not only with me, but for the broader community. That to me is very important, right? But then that also brings up the second point, and that is what experience and what kind of qualifications are we trying to shoot for? Because I think, Sword, to your point, we had this conversation about shouldn't we have some activity points or activity lineage and experience within Apecoin period, the Apecoin DAO, the forums, Snapshot, etc. Are those KPIs that we should be using or could be using in the nomination process? Or are you thinking that this is going to end up making it such a small quantity of candidates?
Go ahead, sir.
Oh yeah, I was going to say. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how many people do raise their hand. The KYC bit may perhaps stop folks. I mean, I think on my end, I operate pseudonymously. I think the expectation is that certain individuals, on the Cartan side and just from like a legal team side would basically be able to verify the reputation and legitimacy of a person without that person's private information being kind of shared publicly. But the goal there is to basically say yes, this person's legit, what they're saying is true, what their experiences is true. But I think, yeah, I mean, as people consider the candidates, it's probably going to be a combination of time and activity within this ecosystem, reputation they have built in Web3, and then of course, experience and reputation in the quote unquote real world. Hopefully that's the way people look at it, and not just kind of a singular track in terms of what qualifications make the most sense. But yeah, Sword, what were you going to say?
Right. So, one thing that me and I know some others here also felt was we want to be able to look at somebody's post history on the discourse forum and have an idea of how they feel about Apecoin and stuff. That was declined this time around, so that won't be a thing. However, in the future, it might be amendable where somebody has to have a minimum forearm participation or whatnot. But they didn't want to close it off because right now, if you were to like say limit it to level 2 users, which is about 60 minutes of reading time, that would make less than 100 people eligible. So I understand why they didn't want to put that in there. But dang, I would love to look at somebody's post history. I really would.
Yeah, I think it's super.
Yeah, amplify. Sorry about that, but no, that's why I was bringing it up. Sword. I think absolutely, and I think with there's three other proposals, or I should say entities out there, with ThankApe, with Catapult, and with Karma. I think we'll at some point we'll be able to look at all this activity in easier to access dashboards. But I'm with you, Sword. I would prefer, even if it was a mix of, let's say, 2 or 3 of the council members to have been in the community already, as opposed to folks coming in from the outside. That to me is a better balance.
Yeah, anyone just joining us, if you're just now joining us, go ahead and request if you want to come up and speak, or if you have any thoughts. There's nothing really off limits, just ape related.
Yep, it's real relaxed. Fridays are relaxed, and then Mondays we'll go into the details on proposals.
Yeah,
I
and
see all you apes in the audience. Farah, Metaboard, 12 Gauge. Somebody better come up here and talk to us. I see
You are so welcome.
I wanted
if
to
you want.
touch on that. On Monday, we're going to have Brandon from the Cartan Group. The Cartan Group, if you guys aren't aware, are the Apecoin administrators who put forth the nominations and elections AIPs that are currently live. We couldn't get Maria at the time that we have our spaces, but we have still the recording is up from when we spoke to her last time.
That's great. I love it that Brandon from Cartan Group's coming. I think that Monday's AIP spaces will be give us another depth to what we need to know about the Apecoin DAO.
Definitely, it'll be great to hear from him. How are we feeling about the bug bounty? I know that's a pretty contentious issue.
Yeah, that's a tight topic right now. Tough topic.
Well, in terms, if I could just throw in just framing it this way, and that is in terms of it just got released, or just went up to snapshot yesterday. It's early days. I think a lot of folks are going to, a lot of token holders, well, actually, just looking at history, most token holders don't even know that there's a snapshot vote, right? Let's be front and center about that. Out of the 90,000 token holders, less than 1,000 are going to show up for this voting. But hopefully, after today and this weekend, through Twitter and the various spaces where you get your information, you'll learn a bit more about the reasons both for and, let's say, against the bug bounty. I think there's plenty of people with their own hot takes about it. But give it time to go through the process of your own decision making as opposed to voting emotionally, because it seems to me right now there's a bunch of emotional voting, and it would be wonderful if everybody tuned in on Monday when we dig deeper into this to get even more information before you make your vote.
It's kind of like I keep making the analogy to space flight and rockets. First time a spacecraft is built, they're not 100% sure that thing's going to get into orbit. They're gonna go through rigorous testing because you're really excited. You want to go to space. You want to go to the moon. You want to go to Mars, and it's all fun until one screw falls off, right? And then things don't go so well. So if there's low engagement right now, there's going to be very high engagement if everything isn't tested properly, and we're the any possible exploit is just examined closely. So I agree, and this is just my personal take, but while there's a lot of emotion around getting moving and pushing forward with staking for Apecoin, I do think that it's a worthwhile consideration to make sure that we've exhausted all possible risk vectors if there's room to explore further.
For me, I guess like I'm more concerned with like what could go wrong if there is something that is found, and if I guess it's worth it to put staking off to like what is the percentage of risk of something going wrong.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, it's not zero. I mean, there are already things that they found, so there are always, I think, new things that are coming up, and new attack vectors that are being found. Like that was kind of Mari's basis for introducing the proposal, kind of referencing the BNB hack, and without getting too specific, they've been around for a while, and something still happened. So I think even if this proposal fails, if not her, then I think we're going to see other members from the community step up and submit a proposal that's more broad for the DAOs, so we can have the marketplace or some of these social platforms that are introducing new DApps, so that they'll have an opportunity to have a bug bounty that's already sort of in place without having to write it into every single AIP. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I know Zach Zierwagen from Snag Solutions was asking about that, a more generic bug bounty to keep like all of Apecoin DAO safe versus just the staking contracts. So I do think, yeah, if this AIP doesn't pass, there's probably going to be a new one. Ironically, there's probably one already being drafted.
Yeah, I think so.
So that the general vibe, right, is mostly just a delay in staking is an issue. It's not the actual bug bounty program.
Seems like that is the case, yeah. And you also have to just think about what is a higher target, right, for nefarious doings. Apecoin is a extremely visible ecosystem, compared to say other crypto currencies or crypto ecosystems, and it's just it's going to attract more people, unfortunately, who are going to look for exploits. So I think to the question earlier, about what is the probability, right? It feels like it's naturally higher. The risk factors are higher just because it has a bigger target. Like the Apecoin ecosystem has a bigger target on its back, unfortunately. So something to consider.
Board, you bring up a great point in the BAYC Discord over the last couple of days. What I did mention in there, I said, look, BAYC already has a big target on its back. Apecoin is not going to be any different. So, and it's my own personal opinion. This is not the Apecoin's team's opinion. This is just my opinion. It was funny this morning that Machi Big Brother came out with an F-it tweet, and he basically said, "Go bug bounty reward a mutant is the reward, is the actual reward if you find something, right?" And I tweeted back to him and said, "Yeah, but isn't the AIP actually offering 5 million as opposed to a mutant?" And I got a bunch of shit for that.
It's fair. Like he offered the mutant. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's something.
Maybe there's like a $5,000 exploit or something, but people do that type of stuff just for like the merit too. Like if you were like a white hat type of hacker and you wanted to make some sort of appearance, coming in by finding some major exploit and then taking that mutant as like a your new sort of brand or persona based off of that event is an option. I mean, it's not impossible.
You know, you bring up a really good point, because at the end, keep this in mind too, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellow comms team, that whatever bug bounty has not been claimed, it basically stays with the DAO, right? I mean, or does it get rolled over into a perpetual bug bounty AIP that might get funded down the line?
Yeah, the wording in the AIP specifically states that the bug bounty program lasts until the funds are depleted. So essentially, until we get hacked.
Yeah, just for AIP 21, just for the staking.
Yeah. That's not to say, though, in 3 months we could propose another AIP to change the scope of the current bug bounty program, and I think that is kind of where people are leaning.
As of this moment, looks like it's 64% against and 35.98% in favor. So it's about 2 million votes total. So a lot of people still have the opportunity to vote. But that is the way the tide is flowing at the moment, which is against.
The in favor has been rising all day.
It has, yeah.
Again, I think to those numbers, board, there is definitely a reaction to the bug bounty going on snapshot based on it's a delay. And what I've been kind of reminding people is that Horizon Labs did not get awarded the contract for staking until July 27th. So if we presume that they started August 1 or so, they also did come out and say that it would take 12 to 16 weeks for this to deploy. So if we look at August 1, 12 to 16 weeks, even with this bug bounty, if it gets passed, we would still be within Horizon Labs' original target date of deployment, which was 3 to 4 months. And I think what fudded the whole thing was when Horizon Labs came out with an actual date of Halloween.
It's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I had to pull out my fingers for this one, right? But August, September, October, end of November, that's 4 months, that's 16 weeks basically, is end of November. It would actually hit within the time frame that even Maria put together in the bug bounty proposal. So just wanted folks to remember that too. Keep that in mind. It is still within that Horizon Labs original awarded contract.
How do you, if the bug bounty program does not pass and staking moves forward with the earlier dates, does anybody feel like they're going to hold back on staking and wait and see? Or are you just going to jump in?
I'm waiting.
I would wait too.
I haven't seen a lot of community sentiment. Maki was trying to ask that question this morning in his space, and I don't remember hearing any people answer.
DGen is going to DGen.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah, there you go. Didn't I said the word DGen, sent up the bat signal, and Amplify throws his hands up. We know.
If we get hacked, we can just put up like a reimbursement AIP, right? Sorry, that's what we were thinking.
First of all, isn't there there's a couple of reimbursement AIPs that I don't think they've made it through the through the entire process, right, board?
Yeah, one of them's mine.
Yeah, please explain.
Yeah, well, without going into messy details, basically, unfortunately, the Rari hack impacted me and many other people, and yeah, so trying to see how generous the Apecoin community is to see if I can get some of that back. It's not good either way, even if it goes through. But the lesson I learned is be careful where you stake and where you use DeFi before it's been properly tested, because sometimes things go wrong. That's why I'm not really rushing to jump into staking and avoid a bug bounty program, because I have very much felt the pain of exploits.
Okay, I'm just making sure that you're directing those comments board to amplify. Okay, just remember that, right? You're directing them to amplify. Do you care to remember some of the comments that were written under your proposal?
Man, so many. But if you want to call out certain ones, please go for it.
No. I don't need to, but I think it was along the lines of, dude, this is Web3.
I think they were mostly friendly.
Yeah. Hey, no, I mean it's true. I completely. It's kind of a lark. Like I'm like, let's just see how it goes. I'm gonna ask the question, but
Yeah, if you don't ask.
no expectations. At all. If people want to treat me like a charity case, they can. It's not just me, obviously. I did it on behalf of a lot of other people who I think probably were hit much harder than I was. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of risk in this space. We are sort of acting as our own banks. And again, to the point of the conversation we've been having, like this is why people are interested in a bug bounty program because there is no FDIC, there is no insurance, right, for lost crypto usually. So that's where we have to basically do the work ourselves and make sure that we're verifying the safety of these protocols and programs. So that's why this conversation is happening, and hopefully the emotions do go down and people think through it logically and have a little bit of patience, not a lot of patience, but just a little bit of patience. We'll see where it ends up.
Yeah, I know that Rari incident was a very particularly weird case because I was working with Babylon Finance at the time and we got hit really hard during the hack. But the takeaway from the developers there is that they did audit the contracts before they enabled the connections through Babylon. It was the Rari team itself updated the forked compound code later to like on the fact. So it's something for us to think about too. Is this staking contract upgradable? I don't know. That would
Good
require
question.
its own brand new host of audits.
We've got an other deed staking proposal that's also in the process right now, and I wonder if it would be added on there or not. We don't have enough details on that to talk much, but it is in the process.
Yeah, did you want to talk about that a little bit? Do you have it up on your computer or anything? Is that the one that was they're requesting like an ape allocation for an other deeds pool specific?
Yeah, I don't have much information. I guess I could pull it up real fast.
That's no worries. We can move on if you guys want.
Yeah, why don't we got a bunch of topics to cover. Why don't we move on to the next one? Wanted to talk a little bit about a proposal from Vulcan to establish kind of a moderator response time. I don't know, Vulcan, if you want to come up and chat a little bit about that, be interesting to hear. I think that that's a hot topic for people who have been working through the proposal process, and be curious to hear your perspective on it or anyone else's.
Yeah, Novo as well. I know you have the AIP for the New Year's Eve event. Does anyone have any experience how long it takes to get your AIP either through the Cartan group or through the foundation? From when I was working at Babylon, we put up a AIP to request to create an Apecoin investment club, and it took about 3 weeks of back and forth with the foundation.
And I always tell people, 7 to 10 days is when to expect a response from them back, and I mean that can go infinitely. There's been proposals who've been in process a lot longer with just a ton of questions back and forth, which it's okay. The way Vulcans is written, it's okay to continue to have those back and forths, but they won't. But the moderators need to respond within a certain amount of time, which makes a lot of sense. It really does. I've never had them be delinquent, though. I will say that it's never went beyond 7 to 10 days before I get a question back.
Yeah, I know for the proposal I've been working through, it's probably been 2 months now, but the response is always within a week or so. It's just sometimes there's a lot more back and forth.
I guess Rarible I don't know if they got lost in the process or what, but they didn't get a response back, is what they said.
See 12 gauge requesting. We're bringing him up.
Yeah, shout out to Ben in the audience too, and Tundra's back.
Oh, I also sent out speaker invites to every ape I see. Sorry if you don't.
Yeah, y'all are so welcome. We're just having a conversation.
Hey, 12 gauge, welcome to the stage. What's on your mind?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, I thought I'd provide a bit of insight on the time it takes for an AIP to go through council and moderator review. For us, I think the biggest struggle was just that you don't know. There's two stages, right? Moderator review and then council review, and then after council review it goes to vote. However, there's no visibility in that process. And so you can kind of get bounced around from moderator review questions back to moderator review and then council review to vote without really knowing where you are in that process. And so that to us was one of the biggest frustrations, I guess.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That can be frustrating.
You also had one of the first AIPs. I think you were AIP 8 to start, and you just recently had the proposal pass, which was a different proposal pass, which is awesome. How are the response times on that in the early stages, especially with like AIP 8 when the DAO was just forming?
Yeah, you know what? For us as a team, that was a bit of a different time as well. I let one of our team members, Speed Racer, handle a lot of the communication back then. And I don't think he was really making it the priority that he should have been. And so I don't want to blame any of the delays that we had back then on the Apecoin team.
Yeah, I pushed my Benji proposal almost 6 months, and it was always me delaying the responses. It was never them.
Yeah. So I know, yeah, it is a tough situation, but I think hopefully we can streamline some of that process, especially with some of our AIPs moving forward.
Yeah, congratulations on getting past too. You guys passed with a landslide victory, and I mean, if anything, you guys made people pay attention to the DAO that maybe weren't even paying attention before. You guys, I think Vulcan reported like you guys had as much votes as some of the highest priority proposals in the past, like for staking or for anything. So congratulations.
Yeah, it meant a lot to us. Thanks very much for everyone who took the time to vote and read the proposal. I think like outside of AIPs that directly affected the DAO, it was like one of the highest voter turnouts. So it means a lot to us for sure.
If I could, 12 gauge, thank you and congratulations. Could you remind everybody in the audience what that proposal was?
Yeah, so that was AIP 112. So we're creating a deck of cards, an Apecoin deck of cards, and we're very excited to show you guys the designs that we're working on. We have one more AIP in ideas right now, and I'm actually writing up a third one as we speak.
And you guys are busy over there. We brought up Novo and Tundra. If you guys wanted to talk about anything.
Hi guys, I just want to say hi. Thank you for bringing me up. I've got emergency child duty, so in case somebody screams in the background and I run away, that's the reason. Don't be alarmed. I just want to say before going to the topic here at hand, something about the staking contract and the bug bounty program, because I think it's so important. It's probably one of the most important things and urgent things that is currently happening in the whole Yuga and Apecoin ecosystem. It's not just about DAO, it's not just about Apecoin. And I think people may not really either paying attention or, like Bort said, emotions taking best of them. But we are dealing here with a contract that is doing a bunch of really innovative things, which is great. You know, we all want that. We are at the frontier of Web3 and DeFi at this point, and, you know, everything that's happening also with NFTs. So we are staking Apecoin, but then we have our NFTs, the apes and mutants and dogs as the keys. So that's another layer on top of this contract. These are all in code, and the more you complicate, or the more complex layers you have in code, the more opportunities or windows or threats in terms of exploit that you will have. It just comes with a boundary, and so this sure quite understand that. So or not that they don't understand, but that they realize the scale of it. So to answer your question, when you ask, are you going to stake? I mean, I was fully loaded. I'm a relatively large ape holder, and I have some apes as well. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it because it's not just the Apecoin that is at risk. It's also the NFTs. And one more point about the contract and the audit that we've had. If everybody goes to Horizon Lab and read that audit, and you just have to look at it, you don't even have to read it, even the colors, the critical um, risks that were found were quite a few, and that's in itself, it's not an issue. It's the way it is. You have a contract and then you audit and you get this risk and you remedy them. But there is a caveat here. This audit has been done by one engineer, by one company, by literally one person. And if you had another audit even, with another, similarly expert engineer, you might have got another bug in there, and that is completely plausible. So not only we don't have another, we have like literally no layers of defense here. We only have one audit, and that's it. And now we're going to go into this, huge contract with huge sums and NFTs, very valuable NFTs. So I mean, I know that what I say here is not going to change anything. Everybody who's going to vote is not going to even be here to listen to this. But it's really, concerning situation, the way I see the votes as well. I haven't cast my vote yet. I will, and it will be in favor, of course. But if this doesn't go through, um, I don't know who's going to have our back. So that's one thing I want to say.
Thank you for that a lot. And yeah, I think just speaking up does actually have like a really big effect. I think it's really great that you're here to voice your opinion for everybody. Don't sell yourself short on that.
Our apes are at risk too. That's something I wasn't aware of.
Look,
I think a lot of people are not aware of that. You should,
in terms
Nova,
of
talk about that more.
Yeah, in terms of what's at risk, anything, it's code. People can go and get in there and do whatever, might be possible. You're dealing with possibilities. And also, like another thing, there is this thing on the contract that you can use, so for the DAOs and multi-sig wallets so that they can stake as well. That allows smart contract interaction. This is huge. Smart contract interaction with such a layered and new and innovative, some of these things we're doing actually has never ever been done before. So there are a lot of smart people out there, and some of them don't have the best intentions. So I don't want to scare anybody, but this is just the reality. I'm just stating the facts. It may never happen, but it may also happen. So that's what we're dealing with.
I wanted to touch on that just a little bit. In terms of smart contracts interacting with other smart contracts, that's an extremely standard practice in DeFi. And that's, like Yearn Finance wouldn't be able to function without the ability to enter into these strategies through Compound or Uniswap or Aave. And then also to just address our apes being at risk, just to be clear, that's only if you're pairing your ape coin with your NFT to stake in the BAYC pool or the MAYC pool or the paired Kennel Club pool. If you're just in the ape coin staking pool, that's the only asset that would be at risk.
But also, I want to mention another point. Again, I don't want to be the doomsayer here, but this is a serious consideration I think we need to have. Yes, the apes in general, the ones that are staked or paired might be more at risk. But imagine if there is an exploit, what happens to the whole ecosystem? It's not just that people are going to lose their apes and everybody's going to be, like, oh, that's really sad. These apes, where are they going to end up? All that Apecoin that's stolen, it's going to crash it's going to be ugly and it's going to be really bad, and everybody's assets is at risk, and whether or not you're part of the contract or not part of the contract, because the waves are going to affect the whole ecosystem. Now I sound really dramatic, but this is an issue. And Amplify, thank you for mentioning that. With regards to smart contract interaction, yeah, that's not new. That wasn't really what I meant. What I meant was that the fact that we are, using our NFTs as keys to pair, and there are, different pools and different, just too many layers and too many lines, actually, not layers, literally too many lines of code. And layers and different scenarios and possibilities. So
I will
it
say
is,
though,
yeah.
Dr. Novo, that the fewer people who engage with staking, the more reward there will be for people that engage. So while I totally agree that people should be really careful and cautious, I think it's going to be quite the enticing offering, especially if not very many people choose to participate. The APYs and stuff are going to be really high. But I think you're calling attention to like a really great point, which everybody should do, is look through the audit, understand kind of your risk tolerance, your level of your level of risk tolerance before interacting with this stuff. And frankly, I do hope that we hear a little bit more on that from Horizon. Like they can help us understand the risks associated with this, engaging with the contract before staking starts. I think there's a lot going on. At least we did get some communication yesterday from Apecoin that let us know at least what the dates are going to be. So I think that's starting to resolve itself. Thanks to everybody up here who participated in that communication. I'm not sure if they tapped you into that or not, but I think that's a step in the right direction. So hopefully we can get more clear communication on this stuff going forward.
I think one of the comments I've seen recurring on Twitter is, folks basically don't want to delay staking, and they're basically saying, let's do the audit after the fact, right? Like, let's do staking and audit it while we're staking. And at least to me, that's an issue, because if you begin the process, people lock up their funds, and then an exploit is found. It's kind of hard to undo it, right? You sort of need to do the audit before, or have the bug bounties and sort of the exploits found out before people start committing their money. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not interpreting the situation correctly, but to me, sort of doing this extra analysis while the funds are already being deployed just doesn't make a lot of logical sense.
Yeah, from my point of view, I think we should all be, like what I'll be doing, I'll vote on getting the bug bounty in place, and I think that we should all take that standpoint of like, okay, we're going to have a delay, or a week or two delay in ape staking, but all of those security measures. Again, it is a bit unfortunate that we didn't have this accounted for earlier, to where it didn't affect the timeline. Maybe even like multiple audits or something. Like, I don't know. Like I think like there are a number of things where we as a community should maybe take stock of and look at, like, how can we give like feedback in a constructive way to Horizon. At the same time, like, we sort of need to make sure that we're being well taken care of by our strategic partners, which I consider Horizon to be one of. So yeah, I think like post this stuff, I think like there's some stuff for us to figure out, like how do we give feedback, and how do we make changes where necessary if we feel like a partner partnership isn't the right thing. But yeah, I think like there were some things, definitely some things that I wish would have been different. But like where we're at right now, I think like caution, being safe is the right way to go about it, and then we can think about how to make adjustments after staking goes live.
I have a question. What would happen if something was found after people are already staking?
And if we had the bug bounty live, you mean?
No, like no bug bounty, just or bug bounty. Well, either way, I guess. Just well, no. If we don't have the bug bounty in place, like if this gets defeated and it just goes ahead, and then something were to come up, like an exploit, someone found something, what would happen then?
If we don't have the bug bounty, we're all sort of wrecked. If we do have the bug bounty, there's at least an avenue for whoever discovered that bug to get some sort of payment that is legal and taxable and legitimate income versus what could potentially be seen as theft. So it's just providing an incentive to get people to do the right thing. But again, if there's no incentive in place, then what are your options as a hacker? It's either you reach out and then ask for like maybe like a percentage of the funds that could have been stolen, kind of like a retroactive bug bounty ask versus a proactive campaign.
Yeah, but then that will be a race against time, because then the contract, I mean, how would anybody, if you show them proof, then they fix it, or they stop the contract, or pause the contract, or if you don't, then who's to believe them that they have such a thing? If there is no bug bounty and there is an exploit, we are screwed.
Yeah.
That's it. Just one thing I wanted to mention about this vote as well. I don't know if everybody knows or not, but even if you have voted already, you can change your vote. So the votes are changeable. So if you voted against, you can still go, and before the voting period ends, you can vote in favor. And also one more thing is that we are talking about only like 2 weeks delay, and in the scheme of the grand scheme of things, we have a 3 years staking program, and the two weeks delay to safeguard 15% of the whole supply, plus BAYC and all the other NFTs that are paired. I think, I just don't get it. Like, why would anybody want to be, it's like being on a plane and you're gonna take off, but you're like, no, don't fuel fully. I want to get there faster. Or you're not gonna get there at all, maybe, if you don't have enough fuel. So to hurry up to get somewhere fast, risking that you may not even get there. And we are only talking about 2 weeks, and this is security, that, I mean, this is really serious. You wouldn't get on a roller coaster not putting your, thingy properly on your belt. It just, yeah, I don't know what to say, but 2 weeks, it's not that much.
Yeah, it seems like really high stakes for such a small delay.
The people will decide.
I understand like the frustrations though, having been delayed so many times, and then it doesn't help that Horizon failed to reschedule their Twitter Spaces that they were going to do.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing is them telling us that they would reschedule it, then after being pushed on by the community like a week or two later, and them kind of backhandedly saying that they would schedule it on Saturday, kind of like get off my back type of thing, and then we never heard from them. I think like that's the type of thing where you do that and you break people's trust, because not only did you tell somebody that you're going to do something, but you you like got a little like snarky with them when they told you like, hey, you didn't do that thing you told us you were going to do, and then you like didn't do it again, right? Like that's like not acceptable behavior in my mind. So I don't know, like how do we make that relationship like healthier? I think the Apecoin Council has a big part to play in that. Um, Maria has been pretty vocal, pretty helpful moving things along, but I think like the rest of the council, their level of involvement, their degree of care, I think, is also probably something to look at. So I'm not sure. I'm hopeful that with the Ape Comms team, you guys, and that potentially a new council composition, we could just get a better relationship, healthier relationship with not just Horizon, but like other partners. But I do think that there's some like direct conversations that probably need to happen with Horizon around some of that stuff.
I totally agree. And, we're going to have these elections come up here in the next month or two, and we're going to get to talk on these threads of all these candidates, right? And one thing I really want to try to nail them on is how will you work with the community? What are some initiatives that we can work with you on? And try my best, and we all can kind of team up to do this, to get them involved. And like I said, what initiatives interest you? Because like I haven't had a reason to reach out to Amy Wu from FTX, but I like to think that if there was an initiative going on that was in her wheelhouse, that she would take an interest in it. Like Maria, she's glad to go everywhere. But as we get to review these candidates, let's ask them. Let's say, hey, what are you going to do here? What do you want to do? And we'll get an opportunity to do that with the existing members who are looking for re-election as well.
Yeah. Do you guys know who wants to be reelected? Like, do you guys have any idea if the whole team wants to be reelected or?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on that.
Guys, fun fact, the co-founder and president of Horizon Labs, Dean, or Handle Crypto Council, they're actually part of the special council. Member of special council or the board. So Horizon Lab, in effect, is not really an outsider or third-party entity, even though, like, I'm sure Horizon Lab as such is not on the board, but there is this interesting connection. I mean, Horizon Lab is doing a great job. So far, we don't know that there is anything wrong with anything. It's just speculation in terms of what may happen. But so far, they've done a pretty good job. So far as we know, like there is nothing that we can say, oh, I mean, they could have had another audit, but maybe they didn't have time or the resources, or that was just not the plan. I don't know what was going in their head, but yeah, so Horizon Lab and their co-founder is part of the Apecoin board.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. I didn't remember that Dean was on the council already. I think that's like potentially conflict of interest. I'm like, I think I might be more critical than some people, but yeah, I think there could be like conflict of interest there. I also don't know that I would say like they've done a phenomenal job as like a partner in helping build out this contract and stuff and just general communication. So I have a little bit of a different point of view, I guess, than you do on Horizon, but I think that there's for sure, like I wouldn't be an advocate of like getting rid of them entirely. I would hope that like through communication and feedback and stuff like that, we could form a better relationship. And like I think that they hired Gentraland and they have a bunch of other side land. Like I think that they like they're obviously here to stay. So it's like how can we get the most out of them, basically, right? And like that's to me where I think we could probably be doing more as a community and as a council or as a Apecoin DAO collective. But feedback is not really like super fun. It's not like the most positive thing in the world to talk about. But I do think it's important to like have that conversation about Horizon.
It is, and I don't. They took part in also launching Apecoin, so things like the tokenomics and stuff. So I take a little bit different of a view as far as like because they're on the board doesn't because one of their members is on the board doesn't like immediately make me think, oh well, that's a conflict of interest, because I could see why they would be preferred. I think they may have had something to do with other deeds as well, so like I could see why they would be preferred for it. Um, but we definitely, it'd be great to connect with them in more ways. They're already doing let's see, they have their guild, the OMG guild, and they want to be here long term. So, any way that we can get more participations, the better.
They're not
Yeah, and
like, oh, go.
all I was going to say was this is I think also part of the challenge that we've all been experiencing is the lack of clarity and the lack of frequent communication, right? And I think just with the comms team and what our charge will be is to help with that, and which in turn Tundra will hopefully have a better relationship / communications with our vendors, our councils, and to your point, to get more out of our partners, as it were. But just two more things, if I could. To adventurous, you had asked the question, what would happen if there was no bug bounty and we went staking and there was some critical vulnerability? I would just point you to Star Wars 4 at the end of when the rebels go into the Death Star. And then to Dr. Novo, you brought up such great points. And the final point you brought up was you wouldn't ride a roller coaster without your safety belt. And my thinking is, I think a lot of our degens in the NFT world would ride roller coasters without safety belts, because that's just the way they are, right? And Tundra, thanks so much for all your comments. When you first started speaking, I actually thought you were going to be a counterpoint to Dr. Novo, but you actually came through and said you're going to wait and just make sure we get this done right. So thanks very much for your input.
I looked up the if the proposal goes through, it says that the program would last about 3 weeks, so it postponed the launch timeline to November 24th, and staking distributions would start on December 7th.
Right, and if I could just repeat myself from what I'd said earlier on in the conversation, is Horizon Labs was given this contract July 27th. They had said at that time it would take 12 to 16 weeks, which basically takes us all the way to about November 27th if they took the full 16 weeks. So technically, we are still within their kind of slated time slot. They kind of just messed it up by coming through. And I think because of community pressure on people asking when staking, that they felt the need to come out with October 31, which possibly was an arbitrary date, maybe not. Dean or Horizon Labs did say that they're ready to go, but they don't mind a little bit of a delay to have the bug bounty in place.
Yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour. If I think we're gonna kind of close down the conversation. I just wanted to remind everyone that we do this every single week, twice a week. Mondays we do AIP roundups with the live AIPs and their authors, and then Fridays, both of these are at noon. We do more of a community hour like this, where we just have an open discussion with the panel and invite anyone up that wants to talk. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. We'll keep growing. We'll keep growing, and the hopes is that with the Apecoin proposal, we'll get to do this off of the actual main account, which will be absolutely awesome. We'll get more reach. We'll get to hear from more people, and thank you guys.
Yeah, I just want to say how excited I am for the Ape communication team to come together and start doing that, start managing that account, because that's something that we're sorely lacking right now, and I think you guys are going to add so much value to not just Apecoin, but like the whole Yuga ecosystem. Like, I think it's just something that we need so badly. So thank you all for being a part of that and working on it. And I'm really excited to see how it forms and how you guys have a positive impact on the community.
We want to get into the boardroom too. We want to hear what they're talking about and be able to say, "Hey, these people are working hard." If they are, that's important. I think that a lot of people
Totally.
want to know more about the council.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely.
shout out to 12 gauge too. I'm waiting to see that third AIP you got working over there. I want alpha. I'll see you in Discord.
Yeah, thank you to all of our speakers. Appreciate everything.
Take care, guys. Have a good weekend.
See you later, guys. Bye.